Welcome to my trip back from DC, and welcome to my R&J portion of my life. Post R&J life. I decided I might as well just make a little video on it for you. So, Romeo and Juliet, circle in the square, it's in the round. Amazing. Absolutely insane staging. Like, perfection staging for the round. Like, they were able to capture every angle of every person. Their balcony was in the center because their balcony was the bed, and since it gets like lowered, Kit can like walk around it, and there's still like a barrier between his like physical distance to Rachel Ziegler, and it's so good. And then I'll start from the beginning. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just so excited. So we open with pre-show. They all mingle. They come out. It's kind of, there's like beats, but not really. But they have a DJ, so like there's a little bit something mixing in the background, and it's mostly the actors just coming out and hanging out. It does feel, as I discussed with Emmy, who I went with, it feels like the beginning to an acting class where everyone just kind of shows up and they start hanging out and they're just like playing cards and vaping, but it's not vaping. To all the people who thought it was vaping on stage on TikTok, that's crazy. And then show begins by the cart of stuffed animals, which we wish there was more stuffed animals in the rest of the show, but the stuffed animals shopping carts gets knocked over, and it's sturdy enough for someone to stand on. So the person playing the chorus and Murky Boy, Mercutio, stands on top of it and introduces every single person. They do a little it feels like we are one as one troupe type situation is the way I would describe it, where they have like a little vocal warm up to get each other in the groove of being there in the space together. And then it begins with this person listing off every person and who they play, which is amazing. And also, this was my favorite thing, was that I could look at the live captioning that was above to make sure that as someone who knows it really well, I do know whose lines belong to who, but it was very nice to be able to look up, and since it wasn't necessarily in my line of sight, immediately I would be able to glance up and check whose line it was. Specifically with the Lord and Lady Capulet, it was very helpful. Even though they were played so differently, but by the same person, it was still nice to have a little reminder. Anyways, it begins, we start with the beginning, which I haven't seen a production or done a production in a hot second that starts with the actual chorus lines. Everyone gets down. There's Kit and Rachel are on opposite sides of the stage. She's drenched in a pink light. He's drenched in a blue light. And then all of a sudden they start circling each other. And you don't even notice, but the lights switch so that it the light doesn't follow them, but their lights that then are cast on the opposite side, I was blown away, even though I'm like, I know it can happen, but like, it was still gorgeous. And then as soon as we actually like started the fight and whatever, scene 1-1, Kit goes to our side of the stage, so we were like really close to him. They hop up on their little like on top of the VOMs where they can enter and exit to the stage. Kit has one and Rachel has one on the other side, right below the DJ. And so Kit sits there and is hanging out with this huge stuffed animal bear that is right there. And so they're chilling. The fight breaks out. Finally, Romeo shows up, so he just launches himself off the vom and comes into the scene. Everyone, fucking killer. Samson actually, full on dies. Like, they punch the shit out of that dude, who, gonna come back to him, he was also the one who played Paris, and favorite person, hands down. They fight. There's blood and gore, and it's wonderful. As soon as next scene happens, they all kind of just casually get up and leave stage, which I thought was wonderful. We get in with obviously Tommy Dorfman as the nurse, and the Lady Capulet interaction phenomenal, especially since a lot of the time when people exit stage, they're not really exiting stage, they're just finding a new place to sit in the house. There's not a lot of time that they're off stage, which I thought was wonderful, so they're like watching the action happening a lot. And a lot of this show, I don't think a lot of them are actually trained Shakespeare actors, but they did so well with the language. It was stunning. And some of the lines that I'm like, oh, I would say it like this, like in my head after seeing it so many times or working on it so many times, I'm like, oh, I wish it was said like this. And they did it, and I was like, fangirling over my Shakespeare. Anyways, back to the beginning. And then they get the dress for Juliet to wear to the party, and it's like this gold little skimpy thing. She goes off to get changed, and then the guys enter to go to the party. The invites were this gorgeous holographic, like it was great. So they let the boys leave stage, and then the partiers and revelers start to enter whatever slowly. But the three boys, Merc, Benvolio, and Romeo, enter, and they stunning, absolutely stunning. Kit is in a full bedazzled, like, Rocket Man, full bedazzled silver, like, outfit. And then it clicked in my brain immediately. Oh my God, the costuming, geeked. They put Rachel in a gold. I was like, oh, she had gold, so she's like sun vibes. And then they put him in silver, so a moon, and like she is the sun. And I was so excited as soon as I realized that she was in gold and he was in silver. She is the light of his fucking life. He makes her shine. I love a little moment. And so we get to the party. I forgot about Paris. Paris shows up for the first time. He has this actor, also just our favorite in general, but this actor has a pink shirt on now, and it just says gift from God. And I'm like, if that's not the most Paris shirt ever. It was so iconic. And he just shows up, full microphone, and just goes, Paris! And it's full auto-tuned. And we were like, oh, that's how everyone should introduce themselves. Because they did it a little bit for like, for some of the people, you would come on stage and be like, I'm the friar now. And we loved it. And I wish they did it more often, specifically with like Lord and Lady Capulet, and even the person playing the friar, the chorus, and Mercutio. I think I would have liked it more if they were like, I'm just this person now. And I'd be like, yeah, you are. Great. We're at the party anyways. We're at the party. Paris is trying to get his lady love, so he's singing to her. And then she gets on the mic, and so we get Rachel singing at the party, and it's a great time because Rachel's voice is just a gift from God, literally from the shirt. And we see her like just kind of sitting there shyly, and then she finally gets up, and then obviously through the dancing, it's kind of choreographed, it's whatever, and then she ends up like beckoning him towards her or whatever, and they like disappear. And then Tommy Dorfman, who's playing Tybalt at the time, they actively put people like in front of her to like push physically aside to get to Lord Capulet. And it's such phenomenal staging where Lord Capulet's just standing still kind of, and like is like arcing obviously because it's in the round still, but these people just keep getting in the way of Tybalt being able to go after Romeo. And Capulet is so nonchalant about being like, they're children, just let them have a good time tonight. Like, you do not need to worry about this. And then everyone kind of disappears, and we get the, obviously, Holmes Palmer's kiss, whatnot. Absolutely gorgeous. And then the party's over. They kind of do their little like back and forth thing. People climb up into the rafters, and then there's just people walking in the grid. And the people walking in the grid, that's where they have the whole I'll not sleep in this bed tonight lines and chunk, where Mercutio is literally in the grid and conjures Romeo from up there while Benvolio is like walking the grid and trying to search. Meanwhile, right before this though, the most beautiful thing happens. I had seen photos of it, but like didn't put it through my brain that this had to happen at some point. So when it happened, it was insane. The floor, so it's obviously a circle. Half the floor, like there's a ring, and then it's like a turntable vibes where it's like a ring, and then there's the center ring. And the whole center ring portion starts opening, and you're like, what the fuck? And it opens up, and it's just a field of flowers, and then an inset into like the second half of so it's like a semicircle of flowers, and then an inset of the flowers matching it so that there's a place for the flowers to go when it closes. It opens, and Romeo's just like laying on this bed of flowers, and it's so pretty. And then so they're conjuring Romeo, and he's literally just laying there, and they cannot find him, and it's so great. And it truly was a wall that he could not get over, and I was like, iconic. And then finally, Rachel gets lowered on her bed with steel on each side that is connected to it so that it's sturdy. She has her moment, and Connor is running around that building. He is up and down those fucking aisles. They're not very long, but they are a lot of aisles, and he is sprinting during the beginning of the balcony scene. He is just everywhere, which I thought was amazing. He involved the audience in not like too much of a way, but definitely in a fantastic way, because there is standing room in this place, so people are standing, and so he just gets kind of like lean next to them, and it's very cute. And then obviously the scene begins. She tries to protect herself with her like pillow when he answers her finally. And she stays up in the bed, and it's phenomenal. And then he goes down, and he asks for a person in the front row's chair to stand on and get closer to her, which I thought was great. And then they're doing their moments. A ladder gets lowered, and she crawls up it to do the moments with the nurse. And then, I feel like a lot of us have seen it on TikTok, but the pull-up happens. The way I was like, oh, we've introduced it with the chair, like he was kind of hanging on earlier. And I was like, oh, that's where he'll launch himself. No. So she's like, Romeo, and he left. Like, he is gone. He sprints, and the part that's inset down with the like flowers, he leaps over that and hangs. And I was like, damn. And I was thinking, oh, he's gonna like pull himself up right away. No, he is dangling for like a good chunk of lines during her 3 words that are not 3 words. And then he slowly brings himself up. They kiss, and then he slowly lowers, and I'm like, that is intense and so much muscle. Oh my god, I could never, obviously, and also I don't think many people could, but it is so crazy. He drops, he leaves, and the bed gets raised up again. Then we're in the friar's cell with a bunch of people, and they enter, and the friar enters and goes, I'm the friar now, and we're all like, cool. And the friar has like a little plant that snips the flower while introducing what the flower does. And then Romeo enters and no one leaves the stage. So all the pupils are right there. And Romeo's just like confessing his feelings in front of a group of people. And everyone's like, oh my God, you like Juliet? Like, they're sitting there stunned. And I was like, whoa, I have not seen a production that keeps the people there, which I think is such good reminder to like the fact that he is so young. And he's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I love her and I'll do anything. And I don't care who knows it either. Like, I love this woman and I want to be married to this woman. I am young, but like, I'm crazy in love. And I don't care who knows it, which is insane because you don't really know who each one of these people belong to on either Montague or Capulet. I'm going with the more Montague because no one tries to immediately fight Romeo right then and there. But it is a little intense and kind of crazy to have people witness this conversation between the friar and Romeo. But it was fantastic. And then Nurse and whatnot, phenomenal, great. Rachel is like, please, I want to marry. We get the whole interaction between the nurse and Romeo, which was great. They did like a little walk around the flowers area. And then he leaves and puts on a little a really nice blazer, and she gets this little like overcoat thing. And that's when they get that picture of the two of them running through the flowers with like the cross behind them. That's where this comes from, because they get super excited. And this was everything to me. I was so glad where we sat because you could see the DJ and you could also see the lighting that is in the shape of a cross on the other side of the wall that isn't on our side if we were to see it from the other way. So being able to see this cross get lit up a lot was phenomenal, because I think it was just like an overarching, like, there's always that presence there, which I think was great. They get married, whatever. Who cares? And then we get the fight, which was so intense. Mercutio, like, jumps at Tybalt, and Kit is, like, holding her, like, fully, like, in air holding. Like, has leaped and has feet up and everything, and Kit is holding while like the shears that the friar had on stage are used to kill. They leave, those shears were also used to slice the leg of Tybalt as well, which I think was great. And then, oh my God, Romeo killing Tybalt, like they leave, Mercutio dies on stage, and the Benvolio being like Mercutio is dead is just like, while sitting there staring at, while Romeo is like trying to help Mercutio live, and it was devastating. Tybalt comes back, they fight, and so brutal, like actively is just punching constantly, like over and over, and it's so insane and so bloody. And then after that, we get the Banished, and then there is a moment where they all leave. Then it ends with Rachel singing a song with Kit on the bed gets lowered down, and Kit is on this bed. Well, gets on the bed eventually, because also the wall goes back down and closes, and then the bed gets lowered. And Kit is sitting there, and Rachel sings a song about him being like her whole world and whatnot. And then we end. So we hit intermission. And then after intermission, Nurse comes back after doing that stuff. The bed is now unhooked, and like the curtains are risen, and they have swept all the extra flowers that have gotten strewn everywhere, kind of. And then the nurse goes to Friar's cell, obviously, but this is the most confusing part, I think, a little bit, with the nurse and Tybalt being played by the same person. The jacket that Tybalt was wearing to define who Tybalt was compared to the nurse. The nurse now owns and has, and I understand that a lot of the time the nurses want something of Tybalt because they are friends. The nurse obviously cleaned up. Tommy is cleaned up at this point, and but they chose to keep the hands bloody, which I think was so interesting. To have the hands still be bloody from the death while the nurse was sitting there with Tybalt to signify that. And so when the nurse comes up, goes to Romeo and the friar, Romeo is like super intense. Like I've seen him play sad. I've seen him play a little crazy. He was really crazy in this one, like psychologically messed up at this point, where he almost looks like he's gonna kill the nurse, to be honest, like was in the face of the nurse, like so intensely, and very, very much so is sitting there with like nurse on one side and friar on the other when he goes to take the knife to himself, and they like shove him down. It was phenomenal. And then finally we get after that, obviously he goes to her. I mean, that was so vague. Romeo goes to Juliet, and oh my god, it was so pretty. So Tommy Dorfman, playing probably the nurse at this point, has to then hook the bed, like, because she goes back to tell Juliet of Romeo's gonna come, like, be ready, whatever. Tommy like hooks the bed back together with the cord, the cables that lift it into the air. Insane to do as an act. Finally, Kit comes in and they get on this bed together, and it gets raised up, and it's so crazy because they get lifted into this air with everyone else in the cast like underneath them, like obviously for stabilizing purposes, and also like Rachel's a very, very tiny human, and so to have two people on this, it has to be a safety precaution just to have it stable so that none of the cables do anything. But it's also just like the impact that what these two people are doing has on the rest of, like, this is the whole town. The impact that they have on the whole other town while this is happening is, you can visually see it happening to them. And it's so cool because they're like literally holding these two kids up in the air as they consummate their marriage. And it's crazy. And then they kind of shift, and while you know what's going on up in this bed balcony situation, they produce Paris out from underneath it, and he's lapping the stage, just pacing and pacing. And then Lord Capulet comes out from under there, and as Paris keeps lapping, finally makes the statement of like, I'll go tell her that she's going to be married to you tomorrow, in like 2 days time, on Thursday next. And oh my god, it was so crazy to watch as like you can fully see Romeo and Juliet while this whole interaction is happening, which I thought was so cool. And then you watch as the morning breaks, obviously, and the nurse comes out from underneath the bed as well and goes, Liddy, look about, the day is broke. And they then, oh my god, it was so graceful. It was so smooth. The way Kit gets off this bed, they do not lower it. The way Kit gets off this bed is by, he gets lifted off kind of while he's sliding off, so it's so smooth. And oh my god, it was just gorgeous. They like say goodbye and he just like kind of disappears off the bed because of all the help from the other actors. And I'm like, this lift call is crazy. And then after that, the bed gets lowered, and as it's getting lowered, all the people are scrambling to get off one side, and the more Capulet-based people were on the most outer edge, so they weren't getting squished. But then the Montague people had to move faster out from under the bed to not get squished, and it was kind of tight, which was terrifying, but also so cool visually looking. People were about to get squished. Lord and Lady Capulet come in, or Lady Capulet first, then Lord Capulet, telling her that she's gonna get married to Paris, and it's, oh my god, the nurse telling her that Paris that she should get married. It's devastating as always, and also done so well in this moment. And she gets ready to go to the friar, obviously, to make penance, and she's so certain, and I love it so much. It was so crazy. From where we were sitting, she enters and she's in a jacket, since she's gone outside and she's entered the cell, and we go, oh, that's a really cute jacket or whatever. She turns around and it is Tybalt's jacket, and I was to say I was gobsmacked would be an understatement, because all of a sudden the nurse is given, and she's actively trying to go against her parents, but also is to leave and marry and be happy with Romeo, but still is holding on to the Tybalt aspects that she can, just to outwardly show that she is for her family, but inwardly asking for, it was just so good, obviously. And then she draws her knife, which devastating for her to also try and kill herself in front of the friar. I'm like, every time I'm like, this poor friar, he's gone through it. He's just trying to make these two families love each other, and it is just not working whatsoever. But he gives all of the other actors are sitting watching this scene, and when the friar goes to get the drugs, literally just turns around and then goes, here, have, and everyone produces a bottle from somewhere and holds it up for the friar to choose, which I thought was so good, and it just creates an air of lightness. And then we get to the Juliet has the poison, friar goes away, and they are sitting there, and Juliet, the mom brings in the wedding dress, and she's like, you're gonna marry Paris tomorrow, deal with it, honey bun. And Lady Lord Capulet is like, here's your dress, we're so excited. And Juliet says, okay, peace out, you all can leave me, I'm gonna go to bed. And she puts right before they leave, she takes the drink, she puts on the wedding dress. Killer move, but it's so good. And so she puts on this dress, it fits her like a fucking glove, and it's also gorgeous. And then she drinks, and she just gets to lay in her little bed. Oh my god, the most devastating thing that happens. Obviously nurse comes in, checks on her, she's dead. She literally goes into the bed with her and tries to wake her up, and it's so sweet, but it's so sad. And then when Lord Lady Capulet come in, this person, big strong person, I love them, also phenomenal singer, brute force just hold Rachel. Thank goodness she's a tiny little gal. But also this person has to be so strong just to hold, because Rachel has to be dead weight in that moment to truly look dead, and is just like holding the child. And it's so heartbreaking to like see this parent physically hold their dead to them child. And the desperation is so there. And then we switch to obviously the friar going and giving the letter. But like it didn't go through, but we don't really get the scene of it not going through. We get the scene of Romeo wandering, and then Benvolio coming in and telling him that Juliet's dead. Devastating. And then, oh my God, the area that Kit had been on earlier in the show and kind of where he exists, there's like a ladder up to the grid area, and then all of a sudden, when he goes to the apothecary, the door hatch, it's very wicked. The door hatch just like opens and the slimy dude crawls out of the like this little hatch in the vom area and crawls out. And then when finally he's like, I pay your heart or whatever. And this person pulls out dagger and stabs the bear and opens it and pulls a huge thing out for the drugs and hands it over. Which means that while Romeo is on stage during all of this time, he could have just turned around and like had the jugs to kill himself at some point. But also the most phenomenal hiding spot is just like in this sewn up bear that is on stage the whole show. It was crazy. I truly was like jaw on the floor moment for me. And it's so slimy, so gross, but I loved it. And it was powder that was like need to be eaten or whatever and mixed in. And then the friar comes in on this side, and the person who's trying to deliver whatever the letter comes in, and they talked about how the letter didn't get to them, so that the friar needs to go to Juliet's tomb. And then we get to the tomb. So sad. Everyone brings her out. She's like in her little shroud and whatnot. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden you hear a pounding of like boom, boom, boom. And you see a floor piece get punched up and like pushed to this, like, which means that he had crawled through the floor of this monument with so many dead people. Sadly, we do not get the Paris fight at all. But we do get at the ending a black version of a gift from God, which I signify as being dead now. And him coming up through the floor was truly beautiful, absolutely beautiful for me. And it was just so good. And he has his whole moment. It's so sad. And he takes his poison and he passes, and they do actually give like it a moment rather than just going straight to like her taking a breath, which always makes it more devastating the faster he dies, and like the quickness of the turnaround, I think, to when she wakes up, I think is always so heartbreaking. So like to give it a second though, I think works. And sadly, she did not get as much of her language at the end that I wish she did, because I love that language at the end of the show for Juliet. It definitely felt more desperate though, because she didn't say a lot of her language. But I did miss a lot of the moments where she's like calling him like her home and her life, but she like notices him right away and is like, poison on thy lips, whatever, drunk all, and left none for me. That part is what her language starts with at that moment. And she stabs herself, and there's blood all over her beautiful, beautiful white dress. And it was just gorgeous. And then they end the show kind of there, and they have the person who was playing the friar come out and do the whole last moments, but like no one necessarily finds them to do the like last moment where they usually have like all the people come out, but they did end up having everyone lay down with them at the end, which I thought was beautiful, just to signify that like they all, oh my god, that's terrifying. Sorry. They're all gonna die in the end, no matter what. And this is just like the instigator of them all existing in the first place. And I don't know, it was just, oh, so beautiful. This whole show changed my whole life and was truly everything I could want from it, with the staging being so gorgeous, let alone just like, oh my god, also, oh, I almost forgot, when we catch up with Romeo in Mantua, he is actually singing a small little reprise of the song that Juliet was singing earlier in the first act, which I thought was so sweet. And he like wakes up and like goes to hug her, and obviously it's just air, and it was sad, and I loved it so much, and also wanted to cry so badly. But yeah, like I wish there was a little bit more music, but I was so happy because I truly didn't know. Like I knew that we were using the text at least from R&J. I just wasn't sure how much or how little we were gonna use, or if like we were updating like everything, or like how much in like iambic pentameter we were doing. But like these people truly killed it, and I'm so glad I got to see it. We did see it during previews, so like there is still a chance that some of it might change a little, so from now till when they open, which I think is either this week or next week or something. And I know that there could be some tweaks, but like for the most part, this show is just gorgeous and fascinating to watch, which I think is like so nice. And it's truly within 2 hours. It's like a 2-hour 10 show with a 10-minute intermission, so like 2 hours and 20 minutes that you're in there. And there wasn't a moment where I felt it was really slow either. Like it never really dragged, which was lovely. Which I think is huge, obviously, when it comes to Shakespeare, especially for the audience that was there. Is probably it felt like it might be a lot of people's first Shakespeare, because a lot of people were probably there for the like pull from the Rachel and the Kit and the Tommy Dorfman casting, that the fact that it wasn't slow, and I don't think if I knew Shakespeare as well as I do, and specifically this show, even if I didn't know it, I would have been able to follow the whole thing and also understood it and laughed just as much as I was, because people were laughing with me when even I think that some of the smaller jokes that are used, and also some of the comedic timing was just phenomenal. But these actors truly killed it, and I don't know. I couldn't imagine it done any differently than I saw it. And I think they're just so careful about how they're staging it, that it was just iconic and moving and also still gory. Because I've seen a couple TikToks about this version and the version that Tom Holland was in, that this one is a little bit more gory, and there's a lot of fake blood, so like if you were to go see it, trigger warning for that. But yeah, it was fun. There was moments of levity in the darkness. There was true chemistry between the humans that were on that stage, but I think that helps when like it's kind of a devised piece and kind of like it's Shakespeare, so it can do anything. And I think they truly made that work, specifically the fact that it is Shakespeare, and it can be moldable to whatever, and they truly made it work, and it worked with the theme, which are like the yous are fucked. And I think that's so insanely prevalent, obviously. And this just, like, all of their decisions are impulses, and they're just, like, and this is the most important thing that's going on in their lives. And they can switch up on a dime, and, like, they're not thinking always, like, fully out in the big picture of things. Everything is right here and right now, because that's how every teen is, and that's how most RNJs are. But like, they also didn't take themselves too seriously, which I think is really lovely, because I think that's also the thing, is a lot of people can get hung up when it's like taken so seriously, where like you can see that they're having so much fun in the moment, and doing the show is a true joy for them, even though it's devastating and there's a lot going on. But like, they seem proud of what they've got going on, and they should be. So yeah, I just overall you know, it was truly, we left after that show, so we like went from there to the hotel to pick up our bags, and then rushed to like pick up my car because we had driven into the city like a crazy person, and so like we weren't able to talk about it until we got out of the city, so that I could focus on driving until we hit a long stretch of road from there to DC. And once we did, oh my god, we couldn't stop talking about it, because it's just, and if this is like the way that Broadway's going, then they're fine. And also we saw the Kit Kat Club, which was also in the round. Like, we saw Cabaret, and it was also in the round. So like, we had a very specific and very sad time in New York, but it was still like, both of those shows are just so new feeling, but also, I mean, they're both old in a way that is beautiful. I don't know. It's just, I freaking love theater, man. And the lighting, I can't even get over some of those lights, that they were just so truly focused on the storytelling itself, and was able to lead you in a way that a lot of people I don't think would even notice, which I think is truly when it's great. I just am also someone who hyperfixates on that kind of stuff sometimes, and so I love watching as people's focus gets shift from place to place. And I also had a moment with the person next to me, not my friend, but this random person sitting next to me. When Kit came down the grid in his bright, shiny outfit, we kind of went to each other to like acknowledge what was happening, but then realized it wasn't our friend, and so we went and we were like, oh my god, yeah. But then we both came back to each other and we're like, yeah, oh my god, that's amazing. And it was just so lovely to like have that community there. Truly, truly insane, and I truly, truly enjoyed it. You know, but yeah, those are my like 5,000 cents on that. Not 2 cents, because obviously the length of this is insane. But it did kill some time on my road trip, so thank you, I guess. And also, if you even got this far into it, sorry about all of my probably little thingies during my driving. I had my nails painted at one point. I have obviously peeled all of them off minus my pinkies. And yeah, I've had a great time. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Leave a comment down below. I'll also take a picture, and this is, if I learn how to do this, I probably won't. This is I got the shirt, and a pair of socks. Anyways, y'all are great. You are an elite employee. Heard it first here. Anyways, y'all are great. I love you. Mama, I'm gonna go finish driving for another 10 hours. 10 hours? That'd be insane. I hope not. I don't know. I've been on the road for a hot second. Okay, bye.